Hi, everyone. My name is Henry Gerlits. I'm your host here at the Henry Gerlits podcast, and this is episode 1. So I am a traveler, I'm an English teacher, and most recently, I am a YouTube content creator, or I would like to be. And here with me, I have Chris Madden. He is the founder and CEO of Good Future Media, as well as Cliptastic AI, and also co-founder of the Imagine AI Live podcast and conference series. And also, he is a former English teacher, just like me, and a good friend of mine for many years. So how else would you like to introduce yourself, Chris?
Henry, you gave me goosebumps. That's perfect. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited for your journey here as a content creator, and I'm honored to be the first guest on the Henry Gerlits podcast.
Well, thank you so much. I just listed a bunch of things that describe your work. So Good Future Media, Imagine AI Live, Cliptastic. So what are these projects? Do you have a common mission through all these projects?
Yes. My mission is to educate millions of people daily in short form video. That's my mission. And the journey to get there, I'm at about maybe 10,000, 20. I'd say about 50,000 people.
Wow.
Across all the accounts that I manage, I'd say I'm about a tenth of the way there to 1,000,000 people. I'm at 100,000 people educated daily because I'm not only creating content with myself and my own voice, my own image. I'm creating content for other podcasters, and all the other podcasts I work with are educational, based in nature, where they're experts in their field and they're talking about their field. And in the short form videos, we're trying to help people understand their fields of startups, Silicon Valley, venture capital, AI. It gets into a lot of heady subjects, and it's quite my challenge every day is to how can I best explain the best parts in a short form video that lasts anywhere from 30 seconds to 3 minutes typically.
So that's the TikTok format, right?
The vertical short form TikTok format that can be, it started off on TikTok, and now you can make that same TikTok. Instagram and YouTube realized that TikTok's got it down. They copied the format with Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts, and even Elon Musk on X says that they want to do it. LinkedIn started their own short form feed now. And the people are realizing that it's this short form content that is the thing that grabs most attention and allows you to get a succinct point or topic or thing to learn across in people's busy schedule.
Yeah, you know what? I've actually found that myself. So I love watching YouTube videos, especially comedy, education, things like that. But yeah, and for a long time I just actually installed TikTok on my phone finally. But I was resisting it for so long. But I kind of realized that sure, I was resisting TikTok itself, but how much time was I actually spending on the Instagram Reels, the YouTube Shorts? All of those, I found myself gravitating toward that more than the longer form videos. Maybe I almost trained myself to consume information in a shorter form, like 30 seconds to a minute. I noticed that when I tried to watch longer videos, I would get a little impatient. So was I kind of training myself or causing myself to kind of decline there? What do you think?
I think it's just the way that the world's going and the way our information consumption habits have changed because of this technology, because of our smartphones, because of social media, because of content creation being so much easier to do. People are able to create so much more content. There's so much more choices. And the algorithms and the platforms have figured out how to deliver that to you in the most fast way possible that gets your attention. And every platform's it's a competition for your attention.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, TikTok figured it out, that short form videos, and they won, but then everyone else is just copying them because it works. And this is a kind of free open market for battling for your attention.
Yeah, you're talking about capturing attention on the short form. I was most recently I was a high school teacher, and I would notice that kids who this is before the Texas banned the use of phones, thank goodness, this past year. But before that, you would see kids in the hallway or sitting around between classes or even in class sometimes, unfortunately. But they would just be scrolling on TikTok. It was an endless, like just that kind of a dazed look. So do you think that short form videos are sort of inherently bad for us, or do you think that there's some redemption in the short form category?
So I don't like to put a quality to what's happening today. I like to view the world for how it is, and then we see how it should be, and we can try to make efforts towards how that should be. But this stuff is happening, and you're right, Henry, that we have to be very careful about how we use this technology around kids, especially in schools. For us, because we grew up in a world without this stuff, and now we developed our minds fully, and we're all getting addicted to it, but we're adults, and for kids it's a lot harder and it's a lot more dangerous for them to have it. So for children, it is bad. It is bad, this short form content, to the extent that how it's being presented to them. I mean, if they're given free access to a feed and a platform, and it's like the algorithm showing them what they want, and what they want as a little kid is just fun, stupid, interesting, things that help, grab their attention, then that's bad, and 100% that schools should ban cell phones in the classroom. And, parents have to work to keep them away from kids too, and have a phone policy, and, be cognizant of what programs you're showing your children, because the sooner you start this getting the attention spans that shorter, it's very hard to go to the long form. And that's why, we have to work hard as educators and parents to start them on the long form and allow their attention to be full, where they can focus on something for hours if needed. And at the same time, it is very difficult, and it's and you do want your kids to be like internet citizen, when they're teenagers. I think it's probably a good time to let them explore this stuff. And you can't, if like how China's doing it, where they ban the stupid content. They only allow like kids to do STEM videos and educational videos. At least if they're going to watch short form, it should be something educational that's expanding their mind, that's allowing them to think in these different pursuits in the fields of interest in the world, and not stupid influencers or
exactly.
We could go down a list of stupid, mindless, wasteful content.
But how about you? So do you make your own short form content, or are you taking things that other creators are making? Or you have clients, or how does your business work?
Yeah. So I was early on Facebook, 2007 or so. I used it to post traveling photos and stay connected with my friends. I taught abroad. Moved and taught abroad in 2009, and ended up living abroad teaching English for 10 years. And I moved to China in 2019, saw TikTok early days, and then the pandemic kicked us out of China, went back to America. I started listening to a lot more podcasts at that time. And one podcast in particular, the All In podcast, really caught my attention, because it was these 4 tech entrepreneurs. They've each very successful in their fields, and they're just, it's during COVID lockdown, and they're like just shooting the shit on camera, talking about the news and building companies and how this stuff works. And it was so like eye-opening for me, and just like this window into this world I didn't understand. I was learning so much. I knew from TikTok back in China that this short form stuff is something. There's something here. They weren't doing short form. So I was like, what if I just start a fan account on TikTok and do short form for them? And I got really into it.
They're huge. They're what a huge huge podcasts. I mean, I don't know where they are in the charts now or where they were, but I know, one of the members there, David Sachs, isn't he in the Trump administration now? He's the AI czar, or is that right?
He's the AI and crypto czar. So the podcast has certainly gone through an evolution where Jason Calacanis called it lightning in a bottle. This rare thing that they, were persistent about doing every week at the same time, essentially, and releasing every week at the same time, Friday evenings. And, their political journey, I mean, it's certainly right now it's a huge influential podcast in politics. Back in 2021, it was, three of the guys were more left-leaning, or two of the guys were definitely left-leaning. One was never talked about politics, and one, David Sachs, who was the conservative of the show, he said that Trump, the January 6th thing, Trump's thing was disqualifying, and he was for DeSantis, and then he started supporting Trump this last year. So yeah, that's been an evolution for sure, and it's crazy the amount of influence. I mean, they're doing podcasts from the White House now, and the amount of access that they have. It's really incredible to see, and yeah. So I mean, that's
what did you were making their clips. So you started making their clips. So way back when TikTok was still sort of gaining traction here in the States, and then what happened? Did they contact you?
Basically, I was undercover. I didn't put my name that I was doing this or anything. I was just okay, I got to build this thing. It's getting views. It's going to catch attention. I had a Twitter account too. It was still Twitter at that time, and posting the videos as well under All In Talk, and that's the name of the TikTok account, All In Talk. And
perfect, yeah.
Jason Calacanis reached out to me saying, "Are you human? Who are you?" And he thought I was.
You say no, I'm a bot. No,
he thought I was Jason. Hey, he thought I was some college kid or something. And basically, he was oh, okay, well, great, you're doing great. Keep.
Well, you've got that energy, Chris, man. You have that that sort of revolutionary spirit, that kind of living on the edge of things. I've known you for a long time, and a college kid is actually a great way to describe you, even though you're in your late 30s. But yeah, you still got that college kid vibe. So yeah.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I get passionate about things, and they're talking about the most important topics of the day. They're discussing these things openly, having differing opinions, and debating live, essentially live for everyone to see. And it's a very powerful thing. And this was back in the time of everyone's watching their words and
right.
Who's going to get canceled next? And it's COVID. Everyone
passed, yeah.
It's just we don't know what's going on. And not to say that they knew what's going on, but they're talking about it openly, these things that everyone else is afraid to talk about. And that's what was so refreshing about it for me. And
for the viewers, I think too,
because
I know they were a poker group, right? And they're all billionaires, right? So they were a poker group, and they've got that kind of vibe, because I'm not as consistent a listener as you are, but I've listened to a lot of different episodes of All In, and it's got that vibe where you just feel like you're hanging out with the bros, just sort of, you got a seat at the table, or you're a fly on the wall, and you're hearing that, because they rip into each other too. They're ruthless. Sometimes you can hear, sometimes you can almost the bruised egos are almost palpable, but yeah. So that was your first venture.
Yeah. So I'd wake up.
Did they start paying you, or what happened?
Yeah, I could probably talk a full episode about the All In podcast. I mean, basically, I would wake up. Right when it was released, I would watch it, and I would be taking notes, and anytime oh, this is a good clip, this is interesting, this is a different perspective. I would, make the video, and I'd prioritize, they'd break news or talk about breaking news, and I'd get that clip out as soon as possible, sometimes hours later, the next day.
What were your follower counts at that point? Were you growing?
So it took only a month to do 30,000 followers. 30,000 followers in 1 month.
In a month.
in a month
And
on
you
TikTok.
you weren't heavily advertising. You weren't doing
No,
all
I never
the
turn it on, and to this day, it's not advertised. It's not. I've never made money
organic.
from the account. What it did was opened up the door to work with the besties. We did clips for This Week in Startups, Jason Calacanis' other podcast, and it allowed this kind of lead gen, I guess, to show that we can do it. This was 2021. Podcasters weren't doing this. Like, some people were doing it for Joe Rogan, maybe some other podcasts, but it wasn't a thing to make short form out of podcasts. And so we were really like pioneers in the space. And I say we, my good friend Spencer Tishner, like, joined. He's the one that got me into the pod. He joined forces, and we were both making clips. And we, realized that this is a value we're bringing to them. We're helping incredibly with discoverability, with reach. I think easily 100,000 people have discovered their podcast because of our work. And so maybe 4 months after starting that, Harry Stebbings, a VC out of England, he's been doing podcasts for a long time, like 4 or 5 years or something, but he never turned on the camera. He started turning on the camera. He saw what we were doing. We approached him to do, can we work together? And then this is the way to do it, guys. We just made a clip. He didn't give us approval again. We just made a clip. The first clip got 160,000 views on 20 VC talk. And then Harry was like, "Yeah, I'd love to work with you." And that handle, the account that we created, became the official account, and it's still that account today.
That is cool. So you're right on the edge. You've got that sense. Like, what do you see now? Like, we're discussing podcasts, we're discussing short form. Like, I think that we can see that this is nothing that anyone would have expected. I think the traditional media, like 22-minute sitcoms, or I don't know, what is it, like 47-minute the 1 hour dramas that or action or whatever TV or it's kind of in the middle, right? But we've got now we have these podcasts that might go 2.5 hours, or you've got the 30 to 60 second short form. So, Chris, I know you always have your finger on the pulse. Like, what's next? What do you see as emerging that young creators could get into, like, in a similar way that you did with the shorts?
Thanks. I mean, it's a good question, and I don't think there's anything after short form video. I think short form video is the end state for grabbing attention, and the thing that everyone's gonna have to or should go to try to get their message and their point across, and to gain views, to gain followers. And Memdani is a perfect example of it hitting politics now too, where his short form game was on point, for a year now, and just going direct to people and doing good premises, good hooks, good visually simulating early 3-second things to get people in. And, now he's mayor of New York. And I talked recently with a political insider in Washington, D.C., who works media for congressmen and stuff. And he was saying how now every congressman is an influencer. Every congressman should look at themselves as a content creator. And half of them don't realize that yet. And then, most of them don't do it well. And
it sounds like you're describing two different strategies. Like the traditional strategy for a politician would be, networking with community leaders, networking with businesses, schmoozing, going to the parties that you need to be seen at, and getting donors or whatever. But there's this new, like Mamdani, you mentioned the populist idea of going straight to the people at scale. Your internet content can reach an infinite number of people, right? Everybody can log on to the platforms that they prefer and see your content. So do you think that this is sort of a new playbook for politicians then?
Yes. I mean, it's a mix of understanding the short form, but then the platforms, like you said, and that you need to understand the platforms are where most of the people are consuming content these days, and where people discover you. And you hope to, maybe they'll get off those platforms to go check out your website or go check out long form interviews and like get to know you more on YouTube and stuff. But most of the people won't, but at least they'll know your name and get an idea of what you're trying to do, and your face and your voice. And that's I think that's the new media, is just like an understanding and appreciation of people's attention spans being super short, competition for that with so much content, so many people realizing they can turn on their camera and record something and project to the world. You can go out to the street and shout at the top of your lungs like the most important message you want to get across to people, and maybe 100 people will hear it. You can do the same thing by turning on your camera and trying to do it maybe in a little bit less frightening way, and get a million views and get in front of a million people. And that's the thing, that the realization is that if you're trying to have impact, if you're trying to have influence or reach, you need to get on the social media platforms, and you need to think about short form content. You need to record content first of all, or you need to at least have original source to go off of. And we can get into how, now with AI you don't even need to record anything.
That's how I was looking at some of your work. You had that demo of your dad teaching economics, right? He really wants to reach as many people as he can to teach economics, and you were able to clone, was it both his voice and his face in order to generate media?
Yeah. So let me tell you about what we're doing at Cliptastic.
Sure.
Cliptastic's a realization that AI voice and being able to clone your voice and use that to make videos is a revolutionary thing, and it's early days. I think it's going to be way bigger in the future. And now I have an agency that offers that service to people. My dad was a use case in a sense. He was the one that actually was like, I was trying to get him to like start a channel and like do econ lessons and like open up an hour where he talks econ. He's taught economics. He worked at the Federal Reserve Bank. He's retired now. But it's really a passion of his. He just wants people to understand Econ 101, basically, and the fundamentals of economics, opportunity cost, etc. And so he's like, "Can't you just clone my voice?" And I was like, "Yeah, well, I've been reading about 11 Labs and all this thing. We can." And so I did it, and I was like, "Wow, this sounds actually pretty good, pretty convincing." And then it's the scripting, the like, what's he gonna say? And because of you've got 30 seconds, you can script it in a way that catches attention right away, but then gets to the point that in the lesson you're trying to get across. So with his channel, it's a strategy of 50% econ lessons and 50% more pop culture econ references and like learning from pop culture essentially. And you could do AI avatars. I could have him pop on the screen and talk, and that's gotten scaringly good as well.
I was wondering actually, how close are we to be able to just type in, like say for instance, or maybe your firm is able to clone my voice and my face, my avatar. How close are we to be able to go into an AI text prompt and say, okay, please use the Henry Gerlits avatar, and maybe I'm not even going to script it. I'm going to let the AI script it. I want to create a 30-second short about this thing in the news, and not even for me, not even put the content in, but have the AI think about what the content should be and generate the video. I've played around a little bit with Sora and I've seen what that can do. So how close are we to that?
So you're on the right track, Henry, and you're asking the right questions, and that's very fascinating, interesting idea. The AI cloning sounds really good. The AI avatar, if you want to put the avatar in there, looks really good. The scripting is really good. Putting all those things together into a cohesive 30-second video, AI is not good at yet. And you can, yet. But where we're at, the generations you get from videos, you can get some good stuff, but you still have to take the time to generate it, and you probably have to roll the dice a few more times, and then maybe it's good, but then it's 4 to 8 seconds, and you can use you still have to have a human stitch it all together. And what we found is that it's just way easier and better just to, you've got all the, you got the voice, you got the avatar, you got the script, you put that together, and then you have humans make a really compelling video with good captions, good stock video, good real video that you can pull, AI generated video if you want. And the human's still the director putting it all together. And that's how you can create actually compelling short form video versus like this, I would call it AI slop that comes out of Sora, these AI video generators, where it's something. It looks really cool, but does it tell a story? Does it actually hook you and like give you value at the end? And that's where it's not there yet. Yeah, I'm sure it will get there someday, but you still need the human. Like, you need the human to get the idea, like approve the idea. I mean, unless you just really want it to let it go, but there's going to be a lot of misses in there. So a lot of people have realized that it's like 10% AI up front, or no, 10% human up front, 80% AI, and then 10% human getting it out the door or reviewing things. And you still need the idea, like everything you just said about your idea for a channel or creating content. That's like the human involvement that you need to, like, okay, I want the script. You still have AI help you make the script and stuff, but you should review it and just like approve what's going out in your voice and stuff. And then once you have the thing ready to go out, you got to review that. You got to review the copy, make sure that you know what's going on in your channel. That's the weird thing about AI is like when you don't know what's going on.
Ooh, yeah.
On your there's people that do auto comments and and all this stuff.
Oh, really?
And it's like,
okay.
I don't know what's exactly happening. I know it's happening, but I don't know these interactions that you're having with people, and that's what's weird. And I guess that's what a world that we are getting into with agents and like.
Well, that's a little sad, I guess. Yeah.
One more point is like our brain's ability to process things, and like that's not changing, and we need to be able to, like, we as humans, as operators, business builders, content creators, we need to be able to process the things that are happening in our lives, but there's only so much time to do that, and AI can help extremely helping you be more productive, but it still comes back to like how much can you actually process and like know what's going on, or somebody on your team's helping you process things.
It sounds like that there's some hope. I was wondering if you had some advice for the young content creators, people just trying to get into this space, or someone who wanted to make clips, someone who wanted to you mentioned the 10% of people at the front, 80% of AI doing work in the background, and 10% of people at the back end, as you're releasing things. So what kind of advice do you have for, like I said, I was most recently teaching high school. There's a lot of people that want to get into this space. It's a lot of people that want to, work for themselves, that want to explore their ideas. They want to connect to the world. So what are some good steps for them to take?
I think the number one thing you need to think about when you're starting down the journey of being a content creator, about putting yourself out online, and just life in general, is your direction. It's where you want to go. The number one thing you need to think about is your direction, and the goal, the point. Because you can imagine yourself, especially starting off, you're at the start of this very, very long road. And a lot of other people have the same direction in mind. And so a lot of people are walking to the same point, trying to reach that direction. And then along this journey, you're going to start like talking to these other people. Other people are going to come out of nowhere and start talking to you. The road might, change, and things are going to happen. And you've got to know that destination is where you want to be headed, so that you can have the wherewithal to fight through and continue down that path. And
can you give some examples of these directions that you're mentioning?
So what's your goal with content creation? My goal is to educate people, as many people as I can, essentially, but I've got a goal of 1 million people a day. And I've built a team. I've got 25 people working for me now. We manage 10 plus brands. We've managed 30 plus brands, and that each brand can be on 6 platforms, and each brand we're trying to get out a piece of content every day. at least, and that's got to go across 6 platforms. And so it's, it's the machine and the daily consistency to reach the goal. And for a lot of people's goal really is views and follower count. And that, that.
But it sounds like you're talking about something deeper than that, right? It's like when people are starting out on their job and they say, "Oh, I just want to make money," but that doesn't seem like a good purpose, right? There has to be something beneath
you gotta,
that. There needs to be something deeper.
And I feel it's hard for high schoolers. It's hard for younger people, like, especially in this world today when things are changing so much, like under their feet essentially. And now there's this superhuman is smarter than any person living, and you can talk to that person in your pocket or on your desktop, and that it changes so much. And that's why I'm so fascinated by this space. And just, that's why I cover this space on my personal channel, AI and Tech News, and with Imagine AI Live. So I'm trying to stay at the forefront of it. And that's what interests me.
So we're going to put all these links that Chris is discussing. We're going to put those in the description. So check out the description if you want to see all the different projects that Chris is involved in, and all these different areas. So I really like what you're saying about the fact that we are human. We can't forget that we're human, and that's the interface that we have with the world. Like you were talking about before, we're evolutionarily we're not different from tens of thousands of years ago when we were, living in tribes, right? What we want is we want to connect to real people. So I wonder if that, like you're talking about your mission as or you talked about education, right? You want people to learn. You want to reach a million people a day with the content that you're pushing out to learn. So that's a wonderful, noble purpose. And I think people have purposes akin to that, maybe art, beauty, history, all the traditional school subjects or the traditional, traditional media, traditional disciplines. So I think people, if we get into that kind of the AI slop, like whatever, or the AI slop or the viral video stuff, almost like the evolution of America's funniest home videos, the slapstick humor type stuff, it's something different, right? We always want to be pushing for truth, beauty, and goodness, right? In the classical sense.
And that, for me in my personal journey, when I was a kid, I went through a phase of very low self-esteem, very like doubting myself, comparing yourself to others, always very unsure, and bouts of depression too. And it was when I studied abroad when I was 20 years old and really, immersed myself in different cultures and, kind of fought through that, and just this, having proactive thinking, trying to, you literally have to block out those negative thoughts and reframe it in your head. Not only, we're fighting to get people's attention. You've got to be mindful of your own attention and where you're spending your attention in your head, in your thoughts. And that's like the first battle is doing that. And then after that, it's being mindful of what you're allowing your attention to be spent on online. And when you're finding yourself watching hours of slapstick and gossip and, low, things that aren't bettering your life, things that you're not learning
the
from.
dopamine hits, right?
Yeah. That's when you've got to, kind of question, like, I should mark don't show me this kind of content, not follow those people. Like, you want to be gaining value from the things you're watching. And, and that's honestly why I encourage everyone to do that. Like, if you're not learning from social media, you're not using it right. There's so much to learn from social media and the people on social media. If you're going to be on social media, be learning while you're on it. And so that's why I'm my mission is to provide content like that, where you are expanding your thoughts, and learning something, getting a different perspective on topics, and so that's what I'm fighting against. This, primarily, TikTok was probably 98% dancing and lip singing and stupid slapstick
Sure.
things that it's just there to like, oh, that's funny, that guy fell down, or like, oh, that the inappropriate content. And
Sure, sure.
now
Or people just trying to be attractive on the platform. They're using their beauty. They're using, something about their body to attraction.
Yeah,
right?
which is very, we can get into that too, just harmful for society and like comparing all this
and
stuff.
for high school students. And for sure.
And so I'm providing, with the podcast clips that I started off with, I'm providing educational content in the short form and starting to push back against that, majority, slop content. And now, now I'd say it's about 10, 20%, 20% maybe is going too far of a stretch on TikTok, at least, of like educational content that you can find. But that's the cool thing about algorithms is that if you as a user wants to train your feed to be an educational place, there's plenty of accounts to follow, and life, a lot of life improvement things, time optimization, just different perspectives on things that you're going through, and it's helpful, and so that's training the algorithm so that you're using your attention well and gaining from these platforms. It's a very important thing to do. And then finally, just adding, then it's a question of what do you want to put on that platform if you're trying to be a content creator, and how are you helping people, and really figuring out that niche, figuring out your demographic. Who are you talking to? What value are you bringing your viewers? And that's the other important questions to ask yourself.
That makes sense. Yeah, I'm really sensing a common thread here. At the very beginning, we were talking about the importance of parental controls and just rules in the home, rules for devices for younger kids. But then we started talking about mindfulness in general, being aware of what you're consuming, being aware of are you just getting the dopamine hits, or are you looking for something important, something to learn? And you had some great ideas there, like curating your feed and being, because I think a lot of people are just scrolling. They might even not be liking things. They're literally just clicking. They're not interacting with their algorithm, right? But if you take the time to curate your algorithm, you take the time to be mindful. And thank you, Chris, for making the kinds of content that elevate us. As I really feel like this technology is, it might tend toward, it might sort of grab our baser instincts. It might kind of take hold of our instincts to just consume things that are just attractive in the moment, or dopamine hits, but we have free will, we have discipline. So if we're able to harness that, I really, and I think you agree with me here, you can tell me if not, but we are in a revolution of information, and we can use short form video, we can use podcasts, we can use all of these different things to elevate us and to harness our dreams and be able to do things that we never would have been able to do even 10 years ago, because it just wasn't available. But the only thing that really seems to stand in our way is ourselves and our discipline, or our lack of discipline. So
the other thread to touch on here, Henry, is the importance of community and the online community that you can build. Another good adage is that you're only as smart as the 5 people that you interact with in life, and you need to curate the attention, or the people that you put yourself around. That's why every parent's really who are the friends that they're making with their teenagers.
It's a bad influence on you.
It's so important that you have encouraging, determined, good friends and people that are, trying to help each other out, and expand their own learning. And you can find that online, and you can find those people online, and really with the people you follow, it's kind of like your attention, the people that you're spending your time on. If you're learning from them, if they're already successful, if they're already have things figured out, and you're learning from their mistakes and their successes, then you can apply that to your life and find success as well. And then the community that you build, because we can interact with so many people, actually getting time to have talks like this, or in small group chats, or on a community like school, it's all you can find your tribe, and that's another trend that's happening in the world today. Hundreds and thousands of different tribes, and so find a tribe that helps you, that you feel comfortable with, and find your tribe online in your followers as well, of who you follow.
You mentioned school. Is that like an online learning platform, or what is that?
Yeah, it's a community management platform that allows you to manage a community of people and offer classes, calendars. There's discussion boards, all in one place that your community members can subscribe to. And yeah, I had one. So I had one called Easy English, and basically I went through about a year ago, at the start of this kind of AI voice thing, a little bit before that actually, I went back to my passion of teaching English, and I did my dissertation on a similar thread about how people that learn English through videos and watching TV shows and movies, I found that their speaking abilities and their listening are way better than those that don't. And TV and movies are inherently interesting, or entertaining. So why not learn English from TV shows and content, and now content online, and making a program for that where you actually track the words you're learning, and you'll get the actual speaking practice in, because AI is going to be able to translate anything, anywhere, anytime, but it's not going to be able to change your ability to speak another language, like in your head, and being able to put it on your resume that you can speak English well, you're fluent in English. That still takes hard work. It still takes determination. And that's why I built the Easy English School community. But what I found was, as you can tell, I have a lot of different projects, and spending 10% of my time on Easy English wasn't enough to make it, successful, to keep it going, the momentum going. So there's still 600 members on there, and it's quasi-active, but really it's back burner for me right now. But it's a good,
Gotcha.
Learned a lot, and it's a good platform, and making that community is that's a good strategy for people starting out, for content creators, and having that real life interaction where your followers can actually have access to you and your expertise and your knowledge.
Yeah, that's amazing, and sounds like all of these things are decentralized. The first thing I kind of thought of was a Facebook group as an analogy to school, but when you started describing it and all the other features and things, like, it sounds like you have a lot more control over it. Of course, there's so many resources out there, so many different ways to. I mean, you have a community of 600 people. I've never even heard of school, so there sounds like there's just so much out there to discover. And keeping that human interaction at the front of your mind, I think, is really important. Like, we can all get kind of siloed off into our little entertainment worlds, right? If you're just being stimulated by entertainment, you're forgetting that there are ways, even online. Probably the best thing, like you and I both studied abroad and taught English abroad, and we have that solid foundation when we were younger of experiential learning, traveling the world and things like that. But
human interaction, like, there's so many people, they don't have opportunities, especially during COVID and stuff. Like, they don't have opportunities to interact with real people, and they end up just living online or living in their household. But really online, you can find people to interact with, and it's important skill to have, to be able to talk with anybody if needed, and have conversations and learn how to converse, and put yourself out there, and that's another part of education that maybe our public schools are failing us at, or just education in general. So.
Yeah, well, public schools are stuck. Well, they're stuck, and they're also constricted by the standards that have been passed by state legislatures and things like that, and the standardized tests. It's very, very difficult to get public school moving in any direction, right? There's lots of things that need to be legislated for that to happen. But in the business world or in the social space, things happen light years faster than in the school system. So that's really tough. I mean, that's a whole nother podcast, thinking about education reform and how we could do it. But I think, I remember when I was in high school in the late 90s, it was, computer class. I took computer programming, but we had, computer literacy classes, and those sort of, I don't know. In my school, I wasn't, it was more specialized stuff. I don't think they teach, general computer literacy as much as they used to when it first came out. It's just too much. There's just too much out there and too much to learn, but it's very important. I would agree with you.
Henry, this has been a blast of a conversation. And I already it is that thing where it's like we could go on for hours, and I do hope I would love to be a recurring guest. I do love
to have you.
I do have a question for
maybe
you.
We'll. Yeah.
What do you hope the Henry Gerlits podcast turns into? What do you want to do with the Henry Gerlits podcast?
Right now, what I'd like to do is to bring on people who are like you at the edge of things. I've always loved to live on the edge of things, and for me, most of my life it was literally living in different countries, and I lived on an island off the south coast of South Korea for right on the edge. Right, I do love that, but I'm really attracted to just where things are going, what the future is bringing us, and where how we can position ourselves in a mindful way to keep our humanity in the midst of all this change and all this upheaval. So I'm really open to anything. I would love to talk to you about, like I said, the public changes in public school, or where you see short form video. You said maybe that's the end, but there's never any end, right? There's got to be something else. Maybe augmented reality, virtual reality. I think all of these things are going to be reality very soon, and it's going to be really interesting to explore it on the edge.
Oh, Henry, you push back. I want to talk more, but I do have to go. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris Madden. You can check out the links to his projects and his companies at the bottom. So tune in for episode 2 coming soon.